What's up guys, Mike here for Chance for Days, and today I'm talking about how the new mechanics and rules of the game are going to be affecting it. These aren't rants or, oh, this is OP. This is a discussion based on things I've seen and have been testing with since these new rules and mechanics have been put in place. So, let's get started. So the things I'm going to be going over is the turn 1 player does not draw, the fact that both players control field spells, and, you know, the other one is destroyed, and pendulum something. So let's start with the first one, that the turn 1 player does not draw on their first turn. Now I feel this is going to be the thing that has the biggest effect on the game for the one reason. The fact that it hits a whole classification of decks, and I'm talking about combo decks. Whether this has been wind-ups in the past or Madolches in this format, combo decks want to go first for two reasons. First, they want to get their plays rolling before their opponents. And, you know, that's how most decks work, but since their monsters are weaker and are guaranteed to end up getting destroyed after the first turn usually, they want to make sure they at least get some value first before their opponent starts bashing them in the face, since usually if the opponent goes first, their monster's too weak to bash their opponent into the face on turn 2. Second reason they want to go first, back row. Back row is terrible for combo decks. Now, when combo decks are going, they're usually going to run stuff like Trap Set as we're seeing Madolches run right now. Because as soon as you affect one monster, the whole thing breaks apart. Because their monsters are individually weak. They have, you know, sort of good effects, but together they use the combo up to make bigger advantage and special summoning a lot to make a lot of extra deck plays, whether these are Synchro or XYZ plays. Now, so why does the turn 1 players not draw matter? Not having that 6th card on turn 1 could make you not either A, have the card that you want to have to make sure you can start going off, or go off soon, or B, help you get out of those bad hands. Let's face it, the risk of combo decks is the fact that individually the cards don't do that much. So when you get a bad hand, you need time to cycle out of that. And having one less resource to use to cycle out of those bad hands, or to maybe even give you protection, maybe you open all monsters, you know, on back row, you know, you need that 6th card. And you can't go second, because if you go second to get that 6th card, then you have to go against your opponent's back row. They got to set up turn 1. Now, the other thing that the turn 1 player doesn't draw affects is that it raises the value of certain cards. And mostly it values Stratos-esque cards. So right now, Traptrix Vermilio is probably the most standard Stratos card that we're seeing competitive play, because you can basically throw in any deck, because every deck runs Boundless Trap Hole, and Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare isn't bad. So being turn 1 Traptrix Vermilio, this is what you're basically doing. You are saying, I start with 5 cards, I go to 6 cards, I now have a 1600 monster on the field, plus the 6th card that I drew for turn, being the trap hole you search off, is a real trap card. It's not like you search the monster and it isn't going to do anything this turn. No, you search a real threat to your opponent that's going to threaten them on their first turn of the game, being turn 2. Outside of that, there's also the cards that, you know, inherently do removal. As well as, you know, floaters too. So the hands, which are both floaters and removal, their value goes up now. And because you're not drawing that 6th card on turn 1, you theoretically dead draw them less. Artifact, Sanctum combined with Moral Tech, it's a 21 beater. It starts as a trap, thins out your deck by 1, and then pops an opponent's card. Fire Fist especially. Fire Fist, like with Bear, inherent removal plus inherent Rhoda, and the Rhoda is going to go into another Rhoda. It's just piling up. So I feel the value of cards that do more than just be a card and gain you either advantage or cause your opponent to lose advantage by destroying cards, the value of those cards go up dramatically for the turn 1 player. Now for the field spell rule. The field spell rule, the worst thing about it is that it takes away a sub-game to Yu-Gi-Oh! And what I mean by that is, whenever you're playing decks, where you and your opponent are both playing field spell decks, say it be like Madolche versus Spellbooks, or DarkWorld versus Madolche, or Spellbooks versus Gravekeepers, you're playing a sub-game, where I can play this now, because this field spell will help me, but then I fall prey to his field spell becoming removal to my field spell, and vice versa. It's a very important sub-game that differentiates bad players from good players in the game, or so I feel, and we just lose that, so I feel like we lose a little bit of skill base there to start. Next is the mirror matches for decks that, you know, run field spells. So, Madolche being the best example, because it's the most meta, besides Spellbooks, but Spellbooks can't be used in this comparison, you'll get it now. Madolche Chateau, each player needs one, because you only get the go-to-hand effect for your monsters. so that's relevant. So you're going to see both players play it. Now, on top of that, it gives 500 attack and defense to all Madolche monsters. So what does this mean? This means that basically the player that gets to swing at his opponent directly first, when both Chateaus are on the field, are probably going to win the game. Because at that point, your 1400 Magiling, it's not 1900 Magiling, it's a 2400 Magiling that you normal summon and Rota. It just basically makes it, in my opinion, from what I've been playtesting and seeing, is that whichever player gets to swing at the opponent's face first is probably going to win because they're already ahead in the life point game and their opponent's already behind on monster. And you can say, oh, well, they come back and swing. If you already clear your opponent's board, you probably have a lot of resources that A, your opponent needs to knock down, and B, they probably don't have as many resources to do it with. So they won't be swinging at your face anytime soon, unless they, drop Dark Hole or some just like clear board, one-of card we have like Torrential. Now, the deck I see getting the most use out of this is obviously Spellbooks. Spellbooks is seeing a resurgence in play, really, just because of how the meta is. There's so many decks as it is, and the cards you side deck for Spellbooks, you really don't side deck much for other decks, per se. So it's been hard to dedicate the sideboard space to the Spellbook matchup, where you get sideboard like, say, Maxi and have it work against like 3 decks in the meta. So because of this now, Spellbook Tower is even harder to kill. You got rid of the 1 out of 2 ways to kill it without its secondary effect going off. Now you're left with, I have to destroy it in response to its effect activating, basically. That's like the normal way of doing it now. However, this means you need to set a removal card and wait till their standby phase. And that still leaves you open to them having a set removal card like MST, Just Tornado, and them hitting that during your end phase. So it's just making it a lot harder to deal with this card that already kind of generates advantage. So I can maybe see Spellbook Tower getting hit at some point because of this, but I see Spellbook Tower being the field spell that has the most to gain out of this rule. Now finally we have the game mechanic we're going to talk about being pendulums. Pendulum summons aren't really ridiculous right now. We don't have a lot of them. We only have 2 TCG. We're going to get more. People don't understand is they're starting out pretty strong. They're starting out with a Sangan-esque card being Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Now Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon in the end phase lets you basically kill itself to search a pendulum monster. But when it kills itself, it's actually going to the extra deck face up, so when you eventually pendulum summon later, because why would you search a pendulum monster, not pendulum summon, you can pendulum summon him back again and again and again and again. So it's doing a little bit better than that. And people are like, oh, this is just a fun mechanic they're making, blah, blah. They're not going to make a mechanic that they're going to dedicate at least 2 years of sets towards and not make it good. You didn't see Synchros not be good. You didn't see XYZs not be good. And I remember back when everyone was complaining about Utopia. So I feel like people should start understanding how they work now and what each one does now. Because we complained about how good Utopia was back when it first came out, just because it was like the only one we had, but XYZs was the mechanic they were shooting for. If Pendulum's on the mechanic they are shooting for, which they are, whatever comes out is going to be good. So this is all my thoughts on new mechanics, new rules, what I've seen so far, and what I predict is going to happen. But what I want to know is what you guys think. So make sure to leave it in the comment section below what you guys think about all this, your opinions, anything I may have missed, any ideas that make things better or worse for the game based on these things, and let me know. Now for you guys on DarkWorldMOFO's channel, I have 2 things I want to ask you. First of all, I'm in the next great YouTuber competition. Because of reasons I stay at the end of my entry for this round, and things I don't, I just got bullshitted out of the quality I should be doing, and I had to do something way smaller quality. So I really need you guys to go like the video, the link's in the description. I can do way better stuff, I already have better stuff planned, but I need you guys to help me move on by giving that video a like, and I promise you won't regret it. The second thing is, please go to my channel and subscribe for more daily content. We're almost at 1K subs, which means once we hit that, we're doing an awesome giveaway. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel. There's no point system. I'm just going to make a video, you comment, I give everyone a week. Then, I'm going to just randomly pick the comments. So you don't actually have to do anything. I'm not going to make you follow Twitter or do this, do that. It's just to reward my subscribers. So go subscribe. And remember, if you want to be good at the game, you got to have answers for days. Later, guys.
Subscribe to this channel because ladies love card games.